Okay. That should be a lot better. So, this is the single-player mode for the Nerf Laser Ops Pro. It is basically an augmented reality system. Goes off the screen of your the display from your camera. In this case, I had the camera covered up so I could just focus on the stuff going on screen. Also, I'm still using an old Galaxy S5, so between the game going on and trying to use the app to record it, it was having some lag issues, so I was trying to just reduce everything as much as possible to bare bones. Anyway, to the gameplay. After you pair your blaster to the phone with Bluetooth, and you start the game with your selected power-up, either a extra strong blast, a power-up that damages all enemies on screen a little bit, or if you've played multiplayer any and have unlocked it, a health renewal power-up. After you do that, it starts in stage 1 with your basic gray drones just spawning in the background coming towards you. As you play, at first you're mainly getting them from your forward field of view, but as the game progresses, it'll start spawning them all around you in a full 360 degrees, and it gets a lot harder. Going over the screen at this point, you can see in the middle you have a reticle that shrinks and turns red whenever you're focused on an actual enemy you can shoot. Bottom left is your health. In this case, it's been upgraded for using my Laser Ops Alpha Point pistol up to 20 health. On the right is how many shots you have. You start off with 10. I have it upgraded to 16 at this point. This video was of a couple days ago, I should mention. Top of the screen, the far left, the little gear button is for pausing the game, going into your settings for music, and so on and so forth. The very top is your current score. Next to that is your combo meter. You can get a combo of up to times 50, and that will affect the score you get from shooting the different kinds of drones. Your base score on the gray ones is 1 point, then the slightly upgraded blue ones are 2 points, etc. And you're based on how many you shoot in a row, which ones you shoot in what order, so on and so forth. Your point values will escalate until you get to that 50 mark, at which point it'll just do your base value times 50. So the gray ones would be worth 50, the next level would be 100, so on and so forth. It shows your high score overall next to that, and then on the top right corner is your blaster you currently have connected, along with the battery level on it, which will fluctuate some as you go through the middle of your alkaline battery's life, but generally speaking, it'll be fine. At this point in the game, we are at stage 2, I believe. You're starting to see some of the gray and yellowish drones that have a value of 3 in terms of health. It takes 3 shots to shoot them if you have a base blaster, basically. It's a little bit hard to judge how much I'm turning at this point since the background is black, but I can guarantee you I'm at least doing a full 180 at this point, going around and shooting things. As you see, periodically you'll have the power-up spawn on screen basically where you're pointing, which is helpful if you're in this case, low on health. Doesn't do anything for me since I'm full on health, but if I'm low on health, it'll restore it some. If it was the extra strong blast, then your next shot after shooting the power-up will be extra strong and is nice and handy for when you get later on and have extra strong enemies in terms of health. And then there's the other one, which damages all enemies on screen for a little bit. Okay. Starting on stage 4, we will be getting into the... I think at this point I actually start letting some of them damage me just so I can show what they do. But the little gray ones starting out, the little blue one I just shot there, will all just zap you for 1 point of health. The actual method of damaging you will go up from there. Some of them start doing a little energy beam. Others will launch a little fireball that takes its time to wind closer to you, but once it gets to you, will do damage to you. Those you can actually shoot out of the air. Won't get you any points, but it'll keep you from getting damaged. But if your screen's full of enemies that are relatively close, you might want to let it just damage you and focus on the enemies, and then work on the net benefit, I guess I should put it that way, of whether you focus on letting the things, getting a thing shooting the fireballs before they damage you, or if you want to just knock all the enemies out sooner so that you take less damage in the end. Later on, it'll very much become a game of attrition and trying to figure out what order you should kill things in order to take the least damage. If you look on the top of the drones, they start flashing a little light on them when they get close enough to actually start firing on you. You see the fireballs shooting out of the air now. Doesn't get any points, but it keeps them from damaging you. And at this point, assuming I was doing a normal run-through, I would have seriously screwed up at this point, because I shouldn't be letting any of them get this close. And also, you'll see I'm having trouble aiming because my phone is doing enough stuff at the same time between playing and recording that it actually starts lagging. It's like all apps. It definitely works best if you have the newest sort of smartphone. If you hear in the background the vibrating, the phone actually vibrates whenever power-ups appear on screen for you to shoot. That's not a random buzzing, it actually has a purpose. As you can tell, this far in, enemies will also start spawning a lot closer to you, not just far away. So you really have to pay attention to where your enemies are and not get too much tunnel vision. Generally speaking, between the stages, there's enough of a pause that that combo meter at the top will reset. If you are also like completely failing at shooting things and take too much time, it'll also reset, but that's beside the point. As you can see, several points here I have to reload from empty. Don't do that unless you really have to. Early on, you may have to because the reload time can take like 2.5, 3 seconds or so. So it actually is valuable time when you're vulnerable. So you'll have to want to use up all your shots as possible, because it takes the same amount of time to reload your quote-unquote clip, whether you have 1 round left or 10 rounds left or 15. So doing the Call of Duty style reloading after every time you shoot isn't viable at first until you start upgrading your blaster through experience and actually can reload in a reasonable amount of time. Around this time, you should start seeing, once it pops up, the gold-plated drones. Those are actually some of the nastier pieces of work in this game. They will, once they get close enough, they will actually sit there and lock onto you with their little energy beam, and it will just drain your health, like 7 or 8 units of health at a time, and it's a real pain in the rear, so you have to kill those as soon as you see them. Also, it should be noted that whenever you're taking damage, it will actually interrupt your blaster functions. Like, if I was using the Delta Burst there with the 3-shot function and I got shot, it would cut me off after that first shot. You'll have to let me pause for a moment. Okay, now that I'm done with a phone call in the middle of this, where are we? Okay, yes. We're actually starting to require a lot of shots to take some of these down. It should be noted that using the pistol is actually, at least in my initial experience, easier than the rifle. The Delta Burst, thanks to the recoil, actually makes it harder to aim consistently in one place. And here you are actually seeing the gold-plated drones now, so I believe I take some extended damage from one of them to show what it does. This also shows off, once I take damage, how much having the upgraded health boost helps, because at this point in time I get like 3 health back each second. Okay, here we go. Yep, 8 health. It's a massive blast, and you just want to kill those on sight whenever you possibly can. Okay, stage 6, this is where I get towards the end of the run. It's like 50,000 or so by the time this ends. Will you sign my Colossal Blitz? For future reference, this is actually streaming, and I'm laughing at one of the comments. So, in case the comments don't show up, you know why I'm laughing. I don't think I've mentioned it this time around, but you see the little arrows around the sides pointing where enemies are in relation to your current field of view. Yellow means they're just in the distance. It gets darker as they get closer, and if the arrow is red, well, it's way too close for comfort. What the heck are you doing wrong? Granted, some of the enemies will spawn really close, but you just have to prioritize better. This part, the black ones take 5 shots to kill, but that's with the upgraded shots. So, at this point, you need lots of experience to get this far without spending tons of time shooting something. And right there is where I start messing up, because I let the power-up sit on screen without doing anything with it. At a later point, I will miss it again, and then I won't be able to get the health back when I absolutely need it. And that's where I'm gonna die. Also, you can see I start focusing on shooting the individual fireballs that are gonna hit me instead of taking out all the enemies that I've let get too close. Which becomes, again, a matter of priorities, because I need to kill off everything that's close to me, and if 1 or 2 fireballs hit me, so be it. Here you can hear the buzzing from that power-up that's on screen that I have not yet hit. And... oh, nope, that's not the one I missed. It'll be the next one. My mistake. Yep, missed it. And here's where all of them start getting close to me. You see the red arrows on the screen. So that pretty much covers it. So that's the single player for you. You got 1041 experience. And that's the single player.